Morning, everybody. It does feel slightly weird, I have to say, being on this side of the fence. I love the introduction, thanks Nick. I do think it's quite funny. I think I have the longest title I've ever had in any job I've ever been in. And people keep saying to me, what does that mean then? Which I do a lot of in the social investment space. What does that mean? It just basically means talking to people, which means that my husband thinks I've got the best job ever because it fits me perfectly. Okay, so about big society capital, I'm not going to dwell on this for too long. I know when I first heard this story 5 years ago, I found it very complex. And having been and worked in the organisation for 6 months in, I think I'm starting to get to grips. But just in case you're not sure, our money came through dormant account money and also through investment from 4 Merlin banks. And the idea is that as a wholesaler, we reinvest it into the social sector. Because I turn up at things and, big society capital suggests money, I just want to say now, I don't work in the investment team, I can't invest into you directly, but many of the people that are in the other room will have or may receive investment from big society capital, and it is their money that will flow through to investment in you, hopefully. A little bit about where our money's going, I suppose. So you can see, I'm not going to read the slides here, these are all from our annual report, and you can see how some of the money is starting to get out. Whenever you set up a new organisation, I think inevitably we're impatient as a sector, and why shouldn't we? Because of the kinds of impact that we create. But there is a frustration that the money's not flowing out quick enough, and I think we're very conscious of that. So what I wanted to probably spend a bit of time is just talking about what sorts of things the money is doing. So, interestingly enough, 9% is helping charities deliver services using social impact bonds. Goodness, at one point, everybody always only wanted to talk social impact bonds, but actually, there's a whole range of types of investment, and it's this: 20% into infrastructure organisations like Clearly So and Charity Bank, and I know Peter's here, and you can see that's how our money flows through. Also, I'm in the way again, in terms of the outcome areas, you can see the thing that's good about social investment money is it's not restricted to one area. So it works across the whole of the issues that will tackle some of the most challenging social impact issues that we need to try and solve. So you can see that it moves across employment and training, mental health and wellbeing, and housing and local facilities. One of the things that I'm doing as part of the Big Society Capital team, I'm very proud to be the first outside of London employee. Just me at the moment. It's a standing joke in the office actually, when people say, oh, where are you going to be tomorrow? And they go, I'm going to be in Birmingham. Hence, where's Claire and Rebecca? So there we are. I see 2 Big Society Capital colleagues. You see, get them out of the office. It's all good. Not just Birmingham. I happen to Lincolnshire, the North East, and the North West as well. Okay. So this is why I'm passionate about it. Okay. So can you see this map? Are there enough flags north of Watford Gap? No. In my mind, no. And that's something that we really need to look at. So. It's been an interesting journey into social investment. When we started SEWM 5+ years ago, I never dreamed that I would spend as much time talking about social investment and certainly not working in the social investment sector myself. If I go right back to that initial launch in Wolverhampton, our stand in Wolverhampton, and our then Minister Nick Hurd and Nick O'Donoghue came to talk to a small select group about big society capital, and it was an idea at that point. And I do remember distinctly thinking, it's great, they're telling us what I think they want to tell us, but not necessarily what we need to know. And we made a pledge in the team that if we were going to do another social finance roundtable and finance fair, we were going to make it what we needed to be. And I think it's a great testimony, not only to SEWM as an organisation and the team, but also to the social finance intermediaries and to you, the sector, that actually when we started this, the social finance intermediaries that I knew said, oh, we'll come along because, you do a good event, Mel, and the lunch is always good. But we're not sure about the appetite for the deals. And then last year's data survey, just to sort of stress why it's important, said that half of the people in the room were looking to borrow money in the next 12 to 24 months. That's a huge shift in terms of appetite. And one of the things that I am, particularly delighted to be able to share with you is that I can directly, and that's before any announcements you hear today, attribute £1.72 million worth of deals that came as a result of introductions and conversations that started in the social finance fair, and that's just in the West Midlands. So let's take that and try and replicate that elsewhere. Things that have been happening in 2014, I'm not going to talk about these because otherwise Seb won't have anything to say and he knows it much better than I, but one of the things that I spent a lot of time doing when I was at Social Enterprise West Midlands is being very frustrated that actually it was fairly easy to get your hands on £250,000 plus, and if you could get a grant, it's easy to get a grant of 100,000 and a loan of 60, and yet we know that's what the average appetite is. So something needed to come in to create that, fill that gap and fill that space so that we can have a consistent end-to-end social investment pipeline. We've been doing some work with our corporate partners around innovation and the Business Impact Challenge. That's been really interesting to look at some of the corporate players that want to get involved in the social investment space, particularly from this perspective. It's not perhaps organisations that you would normally start, people like retailers, which are something that's close to my heart. Things like mass participation, there's been lots of information out. Again, we had some coverage around the opportunities for social pensions, so I think that will continue to be on our radar. And then things like scale, and Golden Lane Housing won an award last week, a social investment award. So it just shows you some of the ways across the 4 strands that we concentrate on that we're working on. So, plans for the future. I'm not going to say anything about social investment tax relief because there's nothing to say later, so I'll come back to that. Transparency. This is a really interesting one. I think a challenge for the sector. So I've sat in some meetings where it's been interesting. We launched a consultation. I think Access have done a great job in leading the way. I spent a lot of time in the first few months going, what does single middle digits really mean? You know, we need to be able to share information so that people understand about the cost of capital. And some of the other things that we're looking at is calling from an outcomes finance fund. So a number of different things that are coming up. So we'll just sign off by saying some of the things that have been really encouraging during my almost 6 months at Big Society Capital. Is I'm starting to read now in lots of different ways. I've heard it in case studies. We did a homelessness roundtable in London and Birmingham a couple of weeks ago. I've read it on some awards application forms, and I've talked to some people who started to talk to me about the thing that they value most from their social investment partner is the partnership and the relationship and how that offsets itself against some of the risk. But that's not underpinning and just excusing the cost of the capital, because I've also read recently in a couple of different occasions where people are talking about the first time that they've been able to access affordable finance, and social investment has given them that opportunity. So it was great when I was in Birmingham that the questions that were being asked were all about, well, what did you pay and how much and where did you get it from? And I think it's really healthy to encourage that kind of sharing because we help to create competition in the market. I'm looking forward to talking to many of you throughout the day. It's great to be back. Thank you.